Welcome to the XRP podcast. I am your host, Andrew, the XRP Maximalist. If you'd like to join me or contribute to the podcast, you can find me on Twitter at XRP Podcast with 2 Ps. This is where you can connect with me directly with suggestions, ideas, or any form of constructive inquiry. The episode of the XRP podcast is featuring Chapter 4 of the report on central bank digital currencies from the United Kingdom House of Lords and Committee of Economic Affairs. During our reading of Chapter 4, we will dive into the international implications of a CBDC. These implications include sanctions between countries, the security of a payment system that relies upon central bank digital currencies, the set of common standards and legal practices used internationally between countries, and finally, wholesale central bank digital currencies, which represent the currencies that would be used solely by financial institutions when transacting with other financial institutions. If it is your first time listening, I would recommend beginning from Chapter 1, which features an introduction that provides a summary and a basic understanding of the terminology, technology, and context of the House of Lords report. This audio series is organized so that the listener may listen to different chapters in any order they wish, so that the information may be consumed in more palpable, bite-sized chunks. Now, let's get into the fun. Please, everybody, enjoy Chapter 4. Chapter 4: International Implications. Sanctions. The US dollar dominates the international monetary system. A significant amount of cross-border trade is transacted in dollars, which makes it the world's main invoicing currency. It is the leading payments currency and the principal reserve currency. Around 60% of foreign exchange reserves held by the world's central banks are in dollar-dominated assets. We heard that the global reliance on the dollar and the US payment systems enhances the US's ability to implement sanctions. This is because cross-border payments depends on 2 pieces of critical infrastructure: SWIFT and a network of correspondent banking agreements. SWIFT is a Belgian-based messaging platform that facilitates cross-border payments between financial institutions. While SWIFT claims political neutrality, the US has used its economic power to influence it in the pursuit of foreign policy goals. For example, the US government persuaded SWIFT to block transactions with Iran. Furthermore, it threatened to exclude Russian banks from SWIFT after the invasion of Crimea in 2014. The threat of losing access to SWIFT is powerful as it effectively severs contact with the international financial system. Many countries are seeking to reduce their reliance on SWIFT, including US allies. In 2019, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom established the Instrument in Support of Trade Exchanges, also known as INSTEX, to maintain their commitment to the Iran nuclear deal, also known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, after the US government withdrew from the agreement. So the Instrument in Support of Trade Exchanges, INSTEX, or INSTEX as I will now refer it to, bypasses cross-border payments through a mechanism which enables European and Iranian firms to barter with each other indirectly. China and Russia are also developing new cross-border payments and messaging services. Tom Keatinge, director for the Center of Financial Crime and Security Studies at the Royal United Services Institute, also known as RUSI, told us that if countries can trade without needing to touch the US dollar, we shall see a deterioration and disintegration of some of the norms that have held together international security in the past decades. Some countries have said that avoiding US sanctions or reducing their reliance on the US dollar is a motive behind developing central bank digital currencies. Russia's central bank was reported to have said that a digital ruble could help mitigate the risk of sanctions. Iran's central bank has developed a prototype of a digital rial. In April 2020, Chinese media states said a sovereign digital currency provides a functional alternative to the dollar settlement system and blunts the impact of any sanctions or threats of exclusion, both at a country and company level. It may also facilitate integration into globally traded currency markets with a reduced risk of politically inspired disruption. The People's Bank of China has said that its Chinese yuan CBDC will be restricted to payments within China. However, there is scope for this to change. On July 16th of 2021, it published a progress report of a working group on the Chinese yuan, which said the following: though technically ready for cross-border use, Chinese yuan is still designed mainly for domestic retail payments at present. Looking ahead, the People's Bank of China will actively respond to initiatives of the G20 and other international organizations on improving cross-border payments and explore the applicability of central bank digital currencies in cross-border scenarios. As outlined in Chapter 2, we heard that the interoperable cross-border CBDC payments are improbable in the short term. In the long term, however, the Atlantic Council said the absence of American-led innovation with interoperable CBDC mechanisms for cross-border trade could begin to erode the dollar's hegemony and replace the use of SWIFT, thereby reducing United States sanctions leverage. It said similar effects could occur for other currencies like the pound and euro if relevant authorities fail to innovate. Tom Keatinge warned of a world in which states might have to choose between payment systems dominated by either the United States or China, whether you want to be part of the Chinese walled garden or part of the United States' walled garden. John Glenn, Member of Parliament, the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, told us that it is difficult to come to a clear conclusion on how central bank digital currencies might affect the efficacy of sanctions. The current sanctions policy, operated primarily through SWIFT, is a powerful tool that has significant reach, but it was difficult to anticipate what might be the effect of central bank digital currencies on the international payment system. In the short term, barriers to creating interoperable cross-border central bank digital currencies are indeed formidable. While a growing number of central banks are investigating this possibility, complex agreements on standards, design, and governance would have to be agreed upon by all countries concerned. However, agreements between small groups of countries could be negotiated more quickly, and it is clear there is political will in certain countries, including China, to create alternatives to the established international payment system, including through interoperable cross-border central bank digital currencies. While this may be a distant prospect, if such payments architecture is implemented effectively, the pressure on the US dollar as a payment currency will increase. This trend could erode the US dollar's sanction leverage, helping countries seeking to evade economic sanctions to bypass US dollar-dominated systems such as SWIFT. We recommend that Her Majesty's Treasury's Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation assesses whether similar risks exist for sterling and the euro. It should also assess the development of central bank digital currencies by countries which are a threat to UK security and any implications for the effectiveness of economic sanctions. Security. The Bank of England's March 2020 discussion paper noted that a central bank digital currency payment system would make an attractive target for hackers or fraudsters who wish to steal funds, and it may become a target for hostile attacks for those with the aim of disrupting the system and potentially the wider economy. For these reasons, the security of the central bank digital currency payment system must be of the highest standard. In December of 2021, Sir John Fleming, director of GCHQ, said that while a digital currency presents a great opportunity to democratize payment systems, it could also present a threat. If wrongly implemented, it gives a hostile state the ability to surveil transactions. It gives them the ability to be able to exercise control over what is conducted on those digital currencies. Tom Keatinge told us that an online system would be a target for attack by foreign nation states. North Korea has made extensive use of the fact that cryptocurrency exchanges and so on can be hacked. It ran a nearly very successful attack against the Bangladesh Central Bank just a few years ago. Stephen Bonner, Executive Director of Regulatory Futures and Innovation at the Information Commissioner's Office, told us it is very hard to build a system that is perfect forever. EY, a consultancy, said the bank would need to be at the forefront of technology to maintain the security of a central bank digital currency system, as technology failure or cyber attack would give rise to country-wide systemic risk. SICPA, or CISPA, a consultancy providing security solutions and services, said that no solution can guarantee absolute security, especially as we begin transitioning to the age of quantum computing. It said any design would need to be adaptable to meet evolving security threats. Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, said design principles for security would be developed after any decision to proceed with a central bank digital currency. He noted examples of cyber attacks on private crypto assets and said a balance would need to be struck between security and usability. John Glenn, Member of Parliament, the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, told us that operational resilience, data security, and cybersecurity will be the core to the evolution of any central bank digital currency that the government pursues, should it decide to. The financial authorities already work closely with the intelligence agencies, the National Cybersecurity Center, and law enforcement. And conversations about the security and CBDC designs would continue to be front and center. Charles Ruxburgh, Second Permanent Secretary at Her Majesty's Treasury, told us that the Treasury is working closely with the security services on any implications of a CBDC for security. There are two clear security risks for a central bank digital currency system. The first is that individual accounts managed by the private sector could be compromised as a result of cybersecurity weaknesses. The second is that a central bank digital currency system, as a piece of critical national infrastructure, would be a target for attack from nation state or criminal actors. Such attacks would risk the exposure of sensitive payments data and the loss of national wealth. No design will guarantee absolute security. Any central bank digital currency would need to be designed so that it was adaptable and could be updated rapidly in response to technological change and emerging security threats. International standards. The Bank of England has been working with international partners to examine central bank digital currency standards and design principles. During its 2021 G7 presidency, the government led on issuing a joint statement on central bank digital currencies and 13 public policy principles to shape global standards. Witnesses said that the UK, or the United Kingdom, is well placed to lead on developing international standards further, and that there was a risk that the United Kingdom would be disadvantaged economically if it does not stay engaged in such work. The Atlantic Council said that the United Kingdom, playing a leading role in international standard setting, will be crucial to secure London's vitality to the global financial infrastructure and maintain its supremacy in transaction settlement and clearing. Without global standards in governance and in greater international coordination, the financial system may be headed for a significant currency interoperability problem in the near future. Tom Keating said that many countries are experimenting with central bank digital currencies in isolation, and the UK could use its reputation as a leading financial center to support the agreement of common standards. He said that such work could contribute to avoiding balkanization of the international payment system. Sir John Cunliffe said that because the majority of central banks are considering introducing a CBDC around the same time, there is an opportunity to design a new international payment system with common standards and common legal approaches that would increase the ability for interoperability. He said these decisions would not be made in international fora, such as the Bank for International Settlements or the United Nations. In the end, these decisions are taken by domestic central banks, domestic governments, and domestic legislatures, while other countries are developing and testing central bank digital currency technology faster than the United Kingdom. The government should prioritize opportunities to collaborate with its international partners in order to shape the emerging central bank digital currency system. The United Kingdom would derive most long-term benefits by ensuring global standards and rules on governance, privacy, security, and interoperability are compatible with the national interests and values of the UK and its allies. Wholesale central bank digital currencies. Wholesale central bank digital currencies, unlike universally available retail CBDCs, would only be used in transactions between financial institutions. They are intended for the settlement of interbank transfers and related wholesale transactions. The Bank for International Settlements said they serve the same purpose as reserves held at a central bank, but with additional functionality. One example is the conditionality of payments, whereby a payment only settles if certain conditions are met. This could encompass a broad variety of conditional payments instructions, going far beyond today's delivery versus payment mechanism and real-time gross settlement RTGS systems. In effect, the wholesale CBDCs could make central bank money programmable to support automation and mitigate risks. The Digital Pound Foundation an advocacy group for digital money, said that programmable CBDCs could deliver a range of benefits in the wholesale and capital markets, including automating payments in the life cycle of financial instruments. For example, dividends, subscriptions, and coupon payments, and automating regulatory reporting requirements, among others. The Atlantic Council said wholesale CBDCs present an opportunity for countries to build cross-border MCBDC, which stands for multi-central bank digital currency, mechanisms that lower transaction costs for the currency transactions and international capital movements. Leaders in wholesale CBDCs and in the development of cross-border mechanisms will be well positioned to strengthen the role of their currency in the global economy and to cement their status as a financial center. The Aurora Project, a network of financial experts, said that other countries, particularly France, saw national strategic advantages in developing a CBDC for wholesale payments. It said that unless the United Kingdom accelerates the development of a wholesale CBDC, the City of London will be targeted by other financial centers with wholesale CBDCs in place. On the 19th of October, 2021, it was reported that a consortium of France's biggest financial market participants used a digital currency issued by the Banque de France as part of a CBDC pilot focused on France's debt market. The trial was led by Euroclear, a securities depository, and included many of France's largest banks, as well as the French Public Debt Office and the Central Bank. It was part of a pilot commissioned in 2020 by the Banque de France to explore how central bank digital currencies would exchange and settle with transactions recorded on a digital ledger. Some witnesses said that prioritizing a wholesale CBDC would have advantages. UK Finance said it may be that an initial pilot of a CBDC for wholesale use cases could provide the opportunity for the industry and regulators to test and learn ahead of a CBDC retail rollout. David Birch, an advisor and commentator on digital financial services, said that what makes the City of London attractive is the cost of doing business, and that a significant way to reduce the cost of financial intermediation is through the use of wholesale digital currencies, which allow people to exchange financial instruments without the clearing and settlement risks associated with it. He said the Bank of England and the private sector had already started work in this area. John Glenn, Member of Parliament, told us that he is confident that the Bank of England's ongoing work to improve the RTGS real-time gross settlement wholesale system is moving forward in the right direction. He said he did not think the UK would gain any significant competitive advantage by being an early adopter of a wholesale central bank digital currency. Sir John Cunliffe said it was not quite right to say the bank was not examining CBDC technology for wholesale purposes. The bank published a paper on omnibus accounts, which would enable the banks that currently have access to central bank digital wholesale to use a digital coin between themselves, and then the omnibus account would settle with the Bank of England. A wholesale CBDC would be less disruptive than a retail central bank digital currency, with fewer economic and political risks. Although the wholesale operations of the monetary system are already highly efficient, a CBDC may help further enhance efficiency in securities trading and settlement. Further exploration and experimentation are necessary. Her Majesty's Treasury and the Bank of England should assess whether the work on wholesale central bank digital currencies being undertaken by some of the UK's economic competitors poses risks to the UK competitiveness. We recommend the Joint Task Force consults on the use case for a wholesale central bank digital currency alongside its 2022 retail central bank digital currency consultation. End of chapter 4. Thank you for listening to the XRP podcast. I am your host, Andrew, the XRP Maximalist. If you'd like to connect, you can find me on Twitter at XRP Podcast with 2 Ps. This was chapter 4 of the United Kingdom's House of Lords and Economic Affairs Committee's report on central bank digital currencies. As always, links to the report will be posted in the description. The XRP podcast is now on YouTube. You can enjoy chapter 4 with the associated text in tandem displayed on all of your devices. In chapter 5, we will bring our report from the UK House of Lords on central bank digital currencies to a conclusion, and we will summarize the recommendations promoted by the House of Lords and Committee of Economic Affairs. As always, this is made with love for and by the XRP community. Thank you and take care.